Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have a chance, hit subscribe below and like the video. And please leave us a comment. We always like to read them as well. And as you guys are going along your journey, as we're sharing ours, it's always nice to kind of have that conversation.
Yeah.
Especially, when this is done and it's 2 years from now and we're old timers and we still love to see those comments. So we know if you guys are following along, it's the biggest thing in your life. It's the biggest thing in our life right now. So hopefully it's helping you guys. We are now squarely in the middle of starting the dinosaurs, our journey into the Triassic period, the first of the dinosaur eras, coming out of that Permian period. We talked about last week in our video where we did the overview of the Mesozoic, which includes all of the various eras of dinosaurs, the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous. We're talking about the first era, coming out of that Permian extinction, mass extinction event where 2/3 of all the land creatures died and 95% on the ocean all died. Huge mass extinction event. And out of the ashes of that mass extinction event is the dinosaurs that we all know and love. And this starts about 250 million years ago and it covers up to 200 million years ago. So it's a very small period. I think it's the smallest of the three eras, Jurassic and then Cretaceous, Cretaceous being the longest of those periods. This is the first one, the smallest. And you got to start somewhere, right? A story has to begin somewhere. And this is where the story begins in the Triassic period, where we have our first archosaurs. So one of the things about dinosaurs, we were just like, dinosaurs. Well, we all know that's not how it really works. Like there's the family tree and there's all the diversifications, there are different types here and a different type here. We're seeing the first of those dinosaurs where we see the evolution from the squat, arms out type of reptile to having the legs underneath the body. And this change of the hip structure and even within the hip structure, they have a split between like bird-like and reptile-like, right? They have these two different classes, and then from there, there's more diversification and more splits. And then we start seeing the pterosaurs where they start to fly. And so we're starting to see, coming out of the ashes of this mass extinction event, you have the whole class of potential animals that could exist. And there's only a few. And so we have this enormous diversification that occurs. When you start to have a very old world or an old era, you have so much diversification. There are these animals, there's like very small fractions of changes between this one and this one. They all kind of start looking the same. They all start narrowing down into like one type of class. This is a time of exploration within the evolution. And why it's important is you start to see our first mammal-like creatures. So it's not just the story. We always think dinosaurs, Triassic, Jurassic, Cretaceous, but we forget that out of the end of the Cretaceous, when the big meteor strikes, what was left over was us, right? The mammals. And so the mammals have to have their story as well, and that's right here where we're starting to see that. And I think they call them the therapsids, which is kind of like a mammal-like reptile. And so we started
a mammal-like reptile? That's like a thing?
Yeah, so warm-blooded, maybe milk. I can't remember exactly the feature, but they call it mammal-like reptile. So it's got to start from somewhere, right?
Right.
Eventually, there's got to be a warm-blooded creature. Eventually, there's got to be milk-bearing. There's eventually got to not be giving birth to an egg and giving birth to live young. All of those type of things, those have to evolve over time. And so we're starting to see those proto-creatures within our evolutionary tree, and there's a split, and here is where it starts. It starts our story, as mammals. And so it's really, really cool to see that. I mean, our story goes back, way back, because obviously, amphibians and reptiles.
Yeah, it's all part of it. But to see that the point where mammals start, right?
Yeah, kind of early proto mammal-like reptiles that they call, I think, the therapsids. I think that's what they call them. So
cool.
Archosaurs, therapsids, pterosaurs flying in the air as well. Really cool time period. But let's get into the books. Last week we talked a little bit about the Dinosaur Book.
So this is the main spine for Blossom and Roots. So we talked about this.
And there was the question of what makes these two different?
So this is one that Blossom and Roots says, well, you could also use this one, but this is the main one. And a lot of people wonder what the difference is. And so we really wanted to show them side by side so we could get an idea. Yep. So this one it doesn't necessarily go completely by time period. It has kind of these overviews. Okay, so, we're talking about mobile next. It will talk about, this is a whole like class of dinosaur, and it talks about everything in that class, right? So this is more kind of...
And then it will talk about features of dinosaurs within those classes. And then it'll give you a dinosaur or two that you may know or you want to learn about. And then they'll talk a little bit about the eras, but it's not told in a timeline structure. It's told as more of a general information.
I mean, there is a timeline to it, but it's more of like categories, groups, and features of dinosaurs.
High-level views, high-level characteristics, high-level groupings of animals.
Right.
You know, if your kid's really interested in kind of like the dinosaur family tree, something like this would be really helpful.
This is definitely going to be more overview based. Yeah. So, you know, as a first cut, that's nice. But this
is more like of an A to Z type of dinosaur book, but told in the timeline. So if you're looking for dinosaurs, and I can tell you, having done a number of books, it's very hard to find books that says, these are the dinosaurs in this time period. These are the dinosaurs in the Jurassic. Sure. Here's the giant dinosaurs in the Cretaceous. You have to end up picking and choosing and flipping through all the pages, like we showed the big yellow book, the dinosaur yellow book.
Little kids.
The Triassic has like 5 dinosaurs out of like 100 in the Triassic period in that book, because most of the popular dinosaurs are in Jurassic and Cretaceous. But they're not like, here's all the Triassics, here's the Jurassics. It's all mix and match. What this book really, really does a good job about is that when it's showcasing you a dinosaur, up at the top, they show you the timeline of where they are. Mm-hmm. And so it's not like jumping around the timeline. The Triassic animals are up front, and the Jurassics are further back. And then the Cretaceous is at the end. So if you want to tell the story through the time periods and you're looking for dinosaurs that are in those time periods, dinosaur, exclamation point, does a very good job of showing
in-depth on each dinosaur species. And it does talk about features too. It does. This is definitely, if we're talking about like an age spectrum, this would be for an older elementary student, whereas this book would be better for younger learners.
I would agree.
Now, I really like that we have them both because they do serve 2 different purposes, right? This one gives you your categories and your overviews, and this one allows your student to dive in deep and say like, ooh, I'm really into that dinosaur. Let's talk about that one. Mm-hmm. And we can really go into it. I think that as a reference book long term, I think this one's going to be more valuable. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, you could go up to, I don't know, adult with this one, whereas this one might time out at some point. So this one's a little bit cheaper. This one's a bit more comprehensive.
A little bit larger.
So, you know, your mileage may vary with what you want to use with your kid, but I know that a lot of people ask about what the difference is between these two. And from, you know, the 2 weeks so far that we've used these books, well, we've used them for a little bit longer than that because they did talk about stuff pre-dinosaurs. But in the dinosaur-focused 2 weeks that we've done, these are the differences we've noticed so far. We may do a spine roundup at the end of all of this and have some differing opinions, but as it is right now, this is what we see as the main difference between the two. Mm-hmm. More in depth, a little bit higher level, focused on individual dinosaurs and their features, more high level groupings, categorizing features of dinosaurs. So,
like immutable characteristics of those dinosaurs. And yeah, I like this from the knowledge of like different types, but of like the features of dinosaurs, this is a nice A to Z. If you just want to get
I think that it's nice to have them both because this one can give you that intro and then this one can let you really explore. You're not meant to read this book cover to cover. No. It would be more like, oh, I'm really interested in this one. And the computer generated images are so gorgeous. Our daughter loves to look through these books. Yep. So I think that they're a good investment to make. Definitely one to get on those buy two get one sales.
We made allusions to it last week. My nearly 40-year-old dino book.
I want to see the
missing pages.
Yeah, it actually has like he wrote his name as a kid in there. It's very cute, and I don't know how this got to us, but I think like when we moved in together, your mother gave it to us. 1988, so it's not as old as I thought. But yeah, she gave us this old book that he used to have. And I think what's kind of fun about this one...
So you can see the way we're using it is I had her go through and find all the Triassic animals this week.
Right.
So that we could figure out which one we wanted to do.
And it's kind of cool. It's got a little guy and how tall things are. I think the reason we're showing you this is not that we expect you to find this ancient book, but that it can be kind of fun to look at an A to Z type dinosaur book if you find one at the library.
Pages are coming out.
Yeah. If you find one at the library, or you find, this is kind of a fun one for them to flip through. And I think what's interesting too, what we've been doing with this, because it is an older book, is looking at the difference in understanding. So we'll choose a dinosaur from this book, and then we'll look at it in dinosaur exclamation and go, how has our knowledge of this species changed in the last 30 years?
The same dinosaur size.
And it is really cool because
and
stuff
the funny
has
thing is,
changed a lot.
Like a lot more hair and a lot more feathers are common understanding. And you just didn't have a lot of that. They're almost all very slick and scaly reptile skins. So there's a high probability you're going to look at one dinosaur in this book and one in that one. And that one's going to be covered in feathers and this one isn't.
Yeah, it's been kind of fun. So if you find an old dinosaur book somewhere at thrift, at one of your ex-library sales or something like that, it might be fun to pick up something old. Just because I think it illustrates to our kids how this is an ever-changing field, right? You think about something so old as being kind of set in stone. Well, that's what it is. But our knowledge is evolving every year as we make more discoveries and scientists do more work. So anyway, we just wanted to show you, it's kind of fun to use something old if you have something, or your grandparents have something old, you found something in your old books, check it out. Absolutely. See the differences. Let us know what you find, because it's been kind of fun.
DK, I wonder dinosaur. Just another little kind of spine.
Yeah, this was just one we picked up years ago, and it's fun. It's a DK, but it's smaller.
Yeah,
and
a little bit lighter in the material.
Yeah, the material's not as deep, so sometimes it's kind of fun to use these and just kind of talk about overview topics. I think this would be a kind of a fun one to get from the library. If you're looking for another dinosaur book for your kids to look through, I Wonder Dinosaur might be kind
of fun.
Another
recommendation, National Geographic 1000 Facts About Dinosaurs. Again, just another reference book, another thing if you're trying to fill out. If you're trying to hit the the checkout button on a bunch of books and a couple of them aren't available, we're just giving you some other ideas. This is really cool because you can see that family tree. I really like these type of books when you're showing.
This one has like tons of facts. If you've got a dino obsessed kiddo, this is a really good book because it gives you just. It's not all structured as a reference book. It's more fun and playful, and gives you just some interesting facts you wouldn't know, and the style is really cool. I could see a kid who
a little bit more advanced than the yellow book.
Absolutely more advanced. But so if you've got a kid who's reading on their own, you have a 3rd or 4th grader, and they're like loving dinosaurs, this would be a fun book to get even as a gift, because I think that this is not something you sit down and read. It's more something that your kid can explore, and then they can learn cool facts and things, because it's not really organized by time period or whatever. So it's fun.
A Dinothosaurus. If you followed along on our around
This is
the world,
prehistoric poems and painting.
Poems are not our thing.
We're not really a poetry family. This is one of the books from the curriculum, and it's just not really a poetry family.
Brachiosaurus, longer than a tennis court, bigger than a barge. I never knew a lizard could ever be so large. There you go.
So, I just want to show you what the pages look like. I mean, if you're a poetry family, then, by all means, go for this. This just does not move us.
Listen.
If
the people want the poetry, man. Give them the poetry.
If you love poetry, I think this is great. This just didn't hit it for us, so... and it's really thin. I would not buy this book, even if you like poetry, because I just don't think that it's worth the price. Just get it from the library or find another book with poetry about dinosaurs. Don't spend the money, I don't think, even if you like poetry. It's just too thin, and I don't think you'll come back to it enough to warrant purchasing.
Spend $30, go on the GPT-3 and ask the AI to write you a dino poem, and then go on Midjourney and make some dinosaur AI art.
Or we have your
for
kids make
$30.
art.
For $30, go do that.
This is like kid art in here. I think, So, okay, one thing that I think could be interesting to do with this book, though...
Tell the people what would be interesting.
What would be interesting, because a lot of this art in here is very, kind of childlike. Obviously, this is not children's art, but could be fun to have your kids do some of their own art and write their own dino poem. This isn't really appropriate for our first grader because she's just not old enough to really be able to do this. But if you're doing this with a third grader or even an older student, maybe get this book as inspiration, let's say from the library, and then have your kids do this as a project to draw a painting and write their own dino poem. That I think could be valuable. So just an idea.
Giving the people ideas. If you want good art, get yourself Dinotopia.
Speaking about another book that Matt loved when he was a little kid, Dinotopia. So this is the book that we decided to read. We're trying to add some chapter books in.
It's sort of a chapter book.
And so we decided to add this one. This is like totally a fantasy thing about discovering a world of dinosaurs.
If you could imagine, it's very Jules Vernean.
Kind of similar.
Very similar to Journey to the Center of the Earth, where it's kind of a found book that then sends some people on a journey. In this case, the guy found a book about this, uncle and nephew who went on this journey, got lost in a shipwreck, and wandered into a world where humans and dinosaurs are living together called Dinotopia. And then they go through the land. What's great is that there's these drawings, which are supposedly in the book that the guy pulls off the shelf, and all these wonderful descriptions of life of dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs are, working to handle the eggs, or there's farriers that are taking care of like the feet of the dinos, and it's just so inventive and so rich, and different characters of wild people who live in that world. I love this book. It's such a great thing. So if you're looking to add a chapter book for dinosaurs, obviously not historically accurate or anything like that, but
our daughter loves this book too.
In the inspiration of kind of a Jules Verne found journal, go on a journey to a magical world where there just happens to be dinosaurs, Dinotopia. I cannot recommend it highly.
There's a sequel, isn't there?
Don't know. There should be a TV show.
I think there's a sequel to this. I don't know. This is a book that we have owned for many years because we saw it in a thrift store when we were like dating. I think it'd be like, I must have it. That was one of my favorite books as a kid. Well, someday our kids will read this.
It's in the line.
Someday is here.
It's in the line of children's literature and art kind of merging together. Very similar to like kind of a Graham Base book series, which we have.
It's cool. I mean, who doesn't want to ride a Triceratops, right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Back then, it was in the Dino Riders and any type of like human dino
Riders.
You know who should make the TV show? Apple TV, because they have produced a documentary, which we have been watching, called Prehistoric Planning.
And they did this just this summer, 2022.
It's on Apple TV Plus. You can get like one.
Amazing.
You can get it's astonishing.
Yes, so Apple TV Plus.
You can get it for like what, $6-7 a month.
I don't.
Check it out.
Apple TV Plus is worth it
Whatever.
for this. So it's five episodes. They're all about an hour long. If you've ever watched like Planet Earth, this was with the David Attenborough, right? So
and he's in it.
He narrates this one. So it's filmed just like
a Planet
Earth with the high quality footage, and then but inside the footage of the landscapes, they have digitally animated dinosaurs in there, and they tell stories with those dinosaurs about how they lived. The young, what were they, pterosaurs who were going to leave the cliff, but some of them were dying, and the whole
drama that you normally experience.
The drama, the way that they tell stories around that. It's not just a documentary about like this was this animal and this is what it did, right? The reason those Planet Earths are so great is that they actually have they're telling a really compelling and usually kind of tense and thrilling story about it.
There's a lot of people online, so I was like, okay. So how real was this thing? There's a lot of assertions in how the animals acted and lived and what they did. And some people have little issues with that. Ignore those people. Those people don't know what they're talking about. What this documentary does, more than any other documentary that I've ever seen with respect to dinosaurs, is because it's filmed on location on Earth with
I think it is, unless they did it all digitally in case it would be amazing.
It can't be.
It's too good.
Whatever. I assume they shot on location and they were telling a story. They are inferring what these animals did based on what we think they might have been like. And there was some creative license and some creativity, some things that maybe 100% weren't there, but it doesn't matter. I have never felt so immersed in a dinosaur documentary than I have in this movie. There are scenes where the CGI looks like CGI. Totally understand. But there are also other scenes where they're using beautiful lighting and it's at sunset and you're like, this is better than anything on the Jurassic World movies or any of the
you couldn't tell
Jurassic Park
necessarily
2,
that these
3,
weren't
4.
real.
You know, all the other Jurassic World movies and they need to take notes on how they did the animation because there are times you just can't tell.
Yeah.
And it
feels
amazing.
real. And to us, you know, we've seen a lot of animation,
Yes.
right? So we can tell. But to our kids,
it's unbelievable.
it's like it's real.
Jaws open, just staring at, and because it's told in these kind of dramatic stories, and Attenborough's narrating over with his great voice and his great gravitas and how he does that. I cannot tell you how shocked I was. I immediately wanted to watch the next episode, and I immediately want to watch the one after.
We're trying to pace ourselves through because there's only 5 episodes.
We're 3 of 5 in now, and they're just every single episode. It's unbelievable. The second episode alone, the whole I think they were Dreadnoughtosaurus or something like that in the South America desert, and they're just these massive walking, lumbering beasts. Now, obviously, these are not in the Triassic period. Some of these animals, a lot of these animals are in the Jurassic and Cretaceous, but we wanted to because we started watching it during the Triassic.
It's more about the habitat. So there's a desert one and a jungle
one. Now we're doing the ice world, I think, is the next one. Then
right.
There's the freshwater.
So it's not going to go by period, but it is 100% worth watching.
I cannot recommend.
Get Apple Plus, TV Plus for a month just to watch this.
Just worth watching. It is so. It's the word I keep saying is astonishing. It's
He keeps calling me and going, you got to see this part. You got to see this part.
This is so
now,
amazing.
one thing we would say,
there's a little bit of a scary factor.
Right. If your kids have a problem with peril, our kids have been fine, but we had a friend over yesterday.
And she did not like some of the peril.
You know, I mean, just like a real nature documentary, some animals get eaten. I mean, this is the way this goes. Some animals lose the fight. Some animals die.
They do show a little bit more than probably you are expecting in a documentary. I know a couple animals get killed. You see them getting killed. You also see at other times carnivores feeding on other animals. So it's a little bit raw, blood and a little bit of guts
not
there.
Not
too
excessively
much.
Gory. Our 7-year-old and 3. I mean, we watched this with our 3-year-old. They are fine. They're absolutely fine.
But if your kid has an issue with that, that's the only caveat
and you might
I will
just
put.
And it doesn't mean that you can't watch the series, but maybe you're just gonna fast forward through a couple. Yeah. And this is what they do, right? They get kind of tense.
In a 40-minute episode, there's typically 1 or 2 tense scenes, and they may be a minute or 2 long. So if you can kind of tell it's coming, so you can kind of jump ahead.
Right.
But
if that's a problem for your kiddos, otherwise, really, really good. Just 100% worth it, and we highly recommend it. We wanted to tell you.
I
all
believe
about
Jon Favreau was one of the producers on it. So if you know his work with say The Lion King and Jungle Book, where he did the hyper realistic, totally animated, lifelike kind of CGI rendering, he didn't do it, but he was the captain of the ship that oversaw the creation of that on the Disney products. He brought, I think, the same level of drama. The other thing too is, and I don't know how they did it, but they must have taken real reptiles today and they mimicked how they moved. There are so many scenes where you're that animal is moving I would think they would move.
Yeah, not stilted. Feels like it's digital
animation. It doesn't feel CGI. It felt authentic. The way they were moving, the way they were stumbling, the way they were flying and catching themselves. It just all felt real, and I got so immersed into it because I think it was the layering of the real landscapes, the real filming with the CGI inside, using light and shadow and darkness to obscure the CGI and enhance the viewing experience. It's one of the reasons why the original Jurassic Park CGI from '93 holds up better pound for pound than the Jurassic World movie that just came out. Now it's all CGI during the daylight, and it looks like CGI. They had to do CGI in the dark back then, and it felt more real because it's just darker. There's a lot of videos online that talk about the difference between it's why does Jurassic Park hold up better than this? And this was 30 years later. Same ideas were brought into this, and there are scenes where you're just I don't know. The opening sequence where you're seeing a T-Rex swimming in the water with its babies from island to island to go get to a feeding grounds is just stunning. Like I don't even realize that I'm watching. I have thought I was watching a T-Rex.
Yeah. We can't recommend it highly enough. So we wanted to tell you all about it.
We won't geek out anymore.
Because
it's so good.
These curriculums were written before this came out, so that this is something that we found and just wanted to add, and we wanted to share with you all. Yeah. So we'll put a link in the show notes so that you can check that out on Apple TV Plus.
Hey, we watched some more Eon's videos. We keep recommending them. You got to just go watch them.
Yep, they were good, but the star of the show this week really
was the Prehistoric
Planet.
We also did some art. We'll do the first one. Stegosaurus, Jurassic period, but just having some fun with the kids.
We decided to kind of lean into some just early elementary dinosaur crafts, paper crafts with our kids, because they just really like those. That's just their thing.
Hey guys, make sure you like and subscribe to Homeschool Together.
That's a clothespin that he is glued onto the back of that.
Well, it was the kids glued it and they did all the artwork.
Yeah,
they did all the cutting out.
Did all of it.
We put it on there. We had to let it dry, and then I was like, the first time I did it, was like, hey lady, how are you? I'm teaching your kids.
So this is the kind of stuff. So if you've got younger learners like we do, and you're doing this with a first grader, and or somebody younger than third grade, maybe check out Pinterest or whatever. Yeah. Look for some easy dinosaur crafts.
I think
we just thought it would be fun to do like dinosaur.
I think I got half my craft ideas by just going to Google, searching dinosaur craft, and then going to images and just looking through what people were doing.
Yeah, our kids just really get into these simple paper crafts.
So I had her go through and find a Triassic animal. I don't know the name of it. It's very long. She kind of made it. The mouth is a little off, but it's all right. It is what it is. And so, so basically that's what we did.
And I think part of this for us is that, we have a tag-along 3-year-old, and things that involve coloring paper or cutting out paper is just totally right in her wheelhouse. Yep. If we try to do some of the other activities that are in the curriculum, we have to do those when the 3-year-old is not there. Yep. And so for us right now, we're leaning into the paper craft. So we'd recommend that if you have younger learners too, you can just look up some stuff online.
This was actually the one the 3-year-old made.
Yeah. She had a great time with it. I mean, they're just fun. They're silly. And I guess part of me felt like, as much as I love some of the crafts that are and activities that are listed in the curriculum, I kind of wanted my kids to have that early elementary, just fun dinosaur experience that I feel like we had when we were in first and second grade, where we made, paper plate dinosaurs, Stegosaurus. I just wanted them to have that simplicity of those without it having to be such a bigger teaching moment. I don't know. Maybe that sounds silly and I'm the only one, but I kind of just wanted them to have some simple and fun early elementary crafts. Yep. And so we're leaning into it. Your mileage may vary, and what works for your kid may, doesn't work for our kid, and vice versa. And that's what I love about homeschooling. We can take this curriculum, and I think that hopefully this series is showing you too that you don't have to do everything exactly as written in the curriculum. You don't have to use all the books that they use. You can use extra things. You can make it your own. Sometimes I feel like we have that sunk cost fallacy where, we spent the money, we bought this curriculum, and so we want to do everything that it specifies. We want to buy all the books, and we want to do every activity, and we're not going to go home until we check off every box. And
it feels like that, like you want to do that sometimes.
You want to do that, and at the end of the day, our kids had way more fun doing this because this is what they were interested in doing. Mm-hmm. And that's all that matters. And we only watched one of this week's half a dozen Eon videos because our kids wanted to watch Prehistoric Planet. And that's okay too.
No. Daddy want to watch Prehistoric Planet.
Daddy really want to watch.
I was forcing everyone. Like, no, they love it.
They love it. Yeah. So, I think make it your own. Yeah. Make it fun for your kids. Let us know. We would love if you want to add comments about the things that you did in each of these weeks when we did something else. I mean, add comments. Let's give each other ideas and encourage each other. That's the whole point of this community that we've been trying to foster, is share our experience with you, and you can share yours with us. And hopefully the next family that comes by in 2 years, when they look back at this video, goes, oh, they did this, and these other guys in the comments, they said these other things, and give each other some good ideas and share, and make homeschooling accessible and fun for everybody. So Thanks for watching. Stick with us. We'll be in the Jurassic,
and we're going We're going to watch Jurassic Park.
Yeah, our 7-year-old doesn't have a problem with peril, so
No
she's
problem
seen
with
Jurassic Park before, so I think that.
Well, she's actually excited for the Cretaceous. So she hasn't watched the new Camp Cretaceous series.
Oh, on Netflix.
On Netflix, and so she's going to, Dad, we get to binge that week, right?
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Sure, kid.
That's fine. So stick with us, like and subscribe, and we'll be back.
Like and subscribe. Follow these idiots as they journey through time. Time!